So get this. Time magazine praises Donald Trump for a historic peace deal in the Middle East. You'd think he'd be thrilled, right? Nope. He is absolutely furious. And not because of the words, but because of the picture. This is a story about power, about perception, and how one single image can be turned into a weapon. Let's deconstruct it.
Yeah, those are his exact words. He called it the worst photo of all time. And with that one post, the internet just exploded. That's when you knew this whole thing was never going to be about politics. It was going to be about ego, image, and who gets to control the story.
Okay, so let's look at the evidence. What is it about this photo that caused such a massive meltdown? Because when you really start to break it down piece by piece, you realize this isn't just a portrait. It's a message. It is pure narrative warfare.
First up, the hair. Trump himself called this out. He said they disappeared my hair. And when you look closely, it does seem kind of smoothed over, almost blended into that dark background. It's a subtle thing for sure, but a very personal detail to mess with.
And then you've got the lighting. It's super dramatic, right? It just slices his face in half. One side is bright, the other is completely lost in shadow. It gives you this sense of mystery, maybe even something a little sinister. It's a pretty unsettling way to photograph a world leader.
But this is the knockout punch. Floating right there, just above his head, is this tiny, almost delicate little crown. It's so small that it feels less like royalty and more like a joke. And that one detail, it changes everything.
So I have to ask you, what do you see when you look at this? Do you see a triumphant king who just scored a huge victory? Or do you see a really clever, subtle piece of mockery? Your answer probably says a whole lot about how you already feel about him.
And here's the craziest part. While the image is screaming mockery, the actual article was glowing. I mean, the text called the deal a strategic turning point. It praised him for getting 20 hostages released. It celebrated freeing over 2,000 prisoners. This was a really rare moment of praise from the mainstream media, but none of it mattered. The picture just swallowed the entire story whole.
Which brings us to Trump's reaction. Did he ignore it? No way. He went on the attack. And in doing that, he showed all of us, yet again, how he plays the modern media game better than almost anyone.
So was this just vanity? A guy upset about a bad photo? Or was it a calculated strategic masterstroke? I mean, on the surface, sure, he's complaining about his hair. But if you look deeper, you see he knows visuals are way more powerful than words. By attacking the photo, he completely hijacks the narrative.
Think about that for a second. He turned a positive story about a peace deal into a global conversation about himself. Suddenly, nobody's talking about diplomacy. They're talking about his brand, his image, his ongoing war with the media. And in that arena, he always wins.
But here's the twist. Trump wasn't the only one playing 4D chess here. You better believe Time magazine knew exactly what they were doing. This was no accident. It was just the latest move in a long chess match between them. One photo can crown you, or it can crush you. And Trump, he never lets anyone else hold the camera.
I mean, just look at their history together. Time has shown him as a literal meltdown, as a storm of chaos raging in the White House, even as a fading shadow. Every single cover is a symbolic attack, so this tiny crown, it wasn't random. It was just the next chapter in their visual war.
So that crown, that was Time's way of getting the last laugh. It was their quiet revenge. See, they had to run the positive story about his success, but they could totally undercut it with the cover. They got to praise him and mock him in the exact same breath.
But Trump doesn't just take a punch. He saw their move and he countered it brilliantly. He didn't try to hide the mockery or ignore it. He put a giant flashing spotlight on it. And by doing that, he took all the power right back. It's actually a pretty simple playbook when you lay it out. 3 steps. First, you amplify the insult so everyone can see it. Second, you claim you're the victim, the one being attacked by the elite media. And third, that lets you seize total control of the conversation. It's a masterclass, really. He doesn't run from mockery, he multiplies it. He takes the weapon they tried to use against him and turns it into his own fuel. Every meme, every article, every single argument about that photo just makes his personal brand stronger and keeps him right at the center of everyone's attention.
You know, this whole thing, it reveals a much bigger truth about the world we live in now. We don't really argue about facts anymore, do we? We fight over frames. We fight over which story, which image, and which feeling wins the day. And this forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question.
What does it say about all of us that a major peace deal gets completely ignored, but a fight over a photo, that captivates the entire world?
Well, it says that we're living deep inside the outrage economy, a system where clicks and gut reactions are the only currency that matters. And it works, because our brains are just wired to pay attention to conflict. Drama sells a lot better than progress. In this system, both Trump and Time win. He gets the spotlight, they get the traffic. The only loser is the actual substance.
So the real question becomes, are we addicted to the drama more than we are to the truth? Is the performance of power now more valuable than the actual practice of it? It's a tough thought, but one we kind of have to face.
Because in the end, when you strip everything else away, this was never just about a photo. It was a battle for control. Control of the narrative, control of perception, and ultimately, control of your attention.
If this made you see this whole story a little differently, subscribe to How To Matic. This is where you and I learn how power really works.